Hi everyone, I'm Mike, this is the Sunday Art Show, and we're up to week 2 of season 2 of Portrait Artist of the Week. This week's sitter is Nihal Arthanayake, and I'm going to do a real-time acrylic painting demo of his portrait for you. Here's my initial drawing. I start out by using a 7B pencil to put in some fairly loose line work. And I just work freehand, I don't use a grid. And then what I find is I go back over the initial drawing with the second drawing. So that has been done, in this case, with a magenta watercolour marker pen. And you can see, if you look closely, like look where I put the right hand headphone here initially. And I've moved that over to the left quite a lot. And there are several other corrections, so when you're doing things just by eye, it's difficult, especially with portraits, to get the proportions bang on first time to the extent that you'll get a really good likeness. So you can see I've changed quite a lot in this one, but I feel now I've got a pretty strong likeness, so I'm ready to paint. All right, so with our drawing done, what I'm going to do is mix up kind of a mid-tone for the skin on the face. So I'm taking some alizarin crimson, a little touch of the cadmium yellow, a little touch of the ultramarine blue, and maybe a touch more yellow. And that's a good starting point. It doesn't have to be exactly right to begin with, but we just need to get some kind of tone down onto the paper. So because these are the interactives, I'm just going to give that a quick blitz with the water spray, and then we're pretty much ready to get started. So here we go. That's a little dark, really, a little too dark. So let's add a little bit of titanium white to that same colour. That's a little bit close. It's close enough to get going anyway. And so while I've got this slightly too dark colour on my brush, what I'll do is I'll use that to kind of block in other dark areas. So the eyebrows aren't actually this colour, but they are very dark. So I may as well just get the tone established reasonably early on. And then if I look across other parts of the face, I can see that there is a little bit of a dark shadow here. It's a little more bluey than the colour I've got on my brush, but there's a dark shadow down there as well. Reasonably dark one around the right hand nostril. And then the moustache is quite dark here, here. Again, this colour isn't right, but I can correct that later. And then underneath the lower lip, there's some quite dark hair there as well. Just going to lift off some of that because that started to obliterate my drawing. So what I'm actually going to do is add a good, this colour, as I said, it's pretty dark. So I've added a lot more ultramarine blue to the mix, and I may as well use this dark colour now for the hair and kind of block in a good portion of that as well. So really I'm not overly concerned about the direction of the brush strokes I'm using in the hair, but the hair has been quite carefully styled. So in contrast to last week with Annie's hair, which was very, very curly, I will take, I'm not overly concerned, as I just said, but I will take just a little bit more care, because if some of these brush strokes kind of show through when the paint dries, then that's going to help to suggest the hair has been combed and styled in a certain direction. Okay, and then as this colour is a little bit closer to the one I actually want for the moustache and beard, I'm going to go over seem to have picked up a habit of painting over the edges of the lips, which isn't what I want to do at all. But anyway, let's go back over some of those darker areas with this slightly closer to the correct colour. And then there are other parts of the beard which aren't as dark, but they're kind of a salt and pepper mix. So to get that started off, I'll put in the darker colour, and then I can put some lighter highlights on over the top a little bit later. Now, the underneath the chin there is actually it's fairly blue, the reflected light. So I've added some more blue to the mixture there, and we'll carry that on throughout, just to give a bit of variation in colour really as we move around the beard. So any texture or dry brush effects that I get for the beard, that's all going to help. So that's not a big concern. But while I've got this colour, which is closer to the correct one again for the eyebrows, I may as well just go over the work I did a moment ago. And this same colour, if I add a little bit more blue again, so I'm getting closer to a pure blue, but I'm just mixing it into the colour that I've already got. I'm going to add a touch of the burnt umber, and again I'm just going to spray the paint with my water bottle. And while that's on the palette, and again it's a dark tone, I'll use that to block in these rather wondrous headphones that he's wearing. So for the most part, I'm really just treating these as a silhouette at the moment. There are highlights on them, and so we'll perhaps add some of those in just a moment. Well, because that's going to be probably easiest and most efficiently done when the paint is still wet. So just got to fill in this little section here. I'll come back and do that fine line a little bit later. So when I'm blocking in these areas, because I've taken quite a bit of care with the drawing, for the most part I am just trusting the drawing. But that said, later on, or even at this fairly early stage, if I see that something's wrong, I won't hesitate to make further corrections to the drawing. So everything is a work in progress at every stage of the painting, until you actually decide that's enough. Okay, now while I've got this dark colour going, there's a very, very dark shadow in there. Again, I've kind of gone over the neckline there a little bit, but that's okay. There's a very dark shadow in here as well, just inside the collar. So we may as well put that in, and then just adjusting the zoom on the photo. Again, not quite the right colour, but in terms of tone, it's not too far off. So I may as well block in that single button that I've included. Now, while the paint's still relatively wet, I'm just going to grab a healthy amount of titanium white and mix that into the existing dark colour that I've got. And I'm going to use that right now to just introduce. So I'm not concerning myself with the intricacies of the construction of these headphones at the moment. I'm just looking at the situation as patterns of light and dark.